First, let's recap what has happened so far. Russell Wilson comes to Pittsburgh on a 1-year deal. Patrick Queen comes to Pittsburgh on a 3-year deal. Deshaun Elliott comes to Pittsburgh on a 2-year deal. Cameron Johnston comes to Pittsburgh on a 3-year deal or a 2-year deal, $9 million, 3-year deal, $9 million. They re-signed Miles Killebrew. They re-signed Christian Kuntz. They re-signed Montravius Adams. Week 1 is in the bag. We are here. They're still looking for a wide receiver. They still got a couple of moves left. They still got plenty of money, somewhere around $15 million. What's your grade week 1, Pittsburgh Steelers free agency?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this question, and I was considering, my first gut instinct was to give them a really good grade because I don't know, I've been really impressed with it. And then I kind of walked myself back. I was like, well, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to, kind of oversell what the Steelers have done so far, but I'm having trouble finding holes in any of the moves that they've made. If anything, the only reason you'd be upset with what the Steelers have done so far is because you don't think they've done enough. But like you said, they still have money to spend and moves to make. So I'm going to give the Steelers an A-. They didn't quite get one of those safeties that I really wanted, but this is, and they still need a receiver as well. But I have trouble finding an issue with getting an upgrade at quarterback, getting an upgrade at inside linebacker, finding a safety, starting caliber safety to fill in next to Minkah Fitzpatrick, and getting Montravius Adams back is huge for the defensive line as well. So I'm going to go A-. I've been really impressed with what they've done so far, and I think the fact that they still have some moves to make, I think, helps them and makes me look, more favorably upon what they've done. $15 million is a lot of money. And they don't need to make any, I don't know. I don't think there's a position where they need to make a huge splash in before the NFL draft begins.
Yeah. Look I agree with everything you just said. I was thinking about this all day, and my initial reaction was, A+, everything they've done, A+. There's, you get Russ for a $1 million deal cheap. You allow yourself to do a bunch of things. Awesome. You go get Patrick Queen. That was a win. Like that signing right there, A+. To get him for 13.6 when his market value was 18, wild. A+ right there. Cameron Johnston. I'm all about Cameron Johnston. I think it's an upgrade at punter. I don't really care about a punter contract. I don't really care as long as it's somewhat cheap. $3 million, good enough. I'm cool with that one. Deshaun Elliott kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. Didn't see that one coming. But the more I dove into the film, the more I dove into who he was, and we're going to give a deep dive into who Deshaun Elliott is and what he brings to the Pittsburgh Steelers here in a minute. I think that's a good move as well. I think that does a lot of things that the Pittsburgh Steelers have missed out on. I think it shores up another part of that defense and a part of that team that the Steelers needed to upgrade at. Everybody's saying, he's the next Keanu Neal. He replaces Keanu Neal. I mean, he does, but he does way more than what Keanu Neal is capable of doing as a football player, and I think that is a massive upgrade for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Re-signing Miles Killebrew, I said all offseason, it was the one thing you had to do. Christian Kuntz I like as well, and Montravius Adams is, look, he might be one of the most undervalued guys on that defense, so I'm all about it. A-. I was thinking an A. I think I decided to go lower. I think I'm going B+ so far. And okay. I think individually everything is above an A. I think what they haven't done so far leaves me cautiously optimistic. So I think that they could sign a center. I think that they will sign a wide receiver. I think that they could sign a defensive lineman. But you got to do all three because you cannot go in there right now with George Pickens and Calvin Austin as your only wideouts. Just can't happen. You're watching guys fly off the board. Tyler Boyd would be cool, but you don't even know if you're going to land him. If not, we got another name later in the show that we're going to talk about. Maybe that's an option, and I think that's a good option. But, again, he's not going to be an A+. I don't even think Tyler Boyd's going to be an A+. So I think that position is questionable. Defensive line, you got to add some. Like, the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers are completely ignoring their defensive line is concerning. That is the one spot where I'm just sitting around going, you guys were really bad in the run game last year. Like, really bad. And you were really bad the year before that in the run game. You have to shore up that defensive line. You haven't touched it. That makes me a little bit nervous. That's the one position that makes me a little bit nervous. And then, you got to go center at some point. You need a center. There's maybe only 2 left, and both of them are coming off season-ending injuries. So I don't know what your thoughts are there. Maybe you're going into the NFL draft and you are gung-ho, 100% sold. We are drafting Jackson Powers-Johnson. or Zach Frazier. If that's the case, cool. I'm all about it. But I can't read the Steelers' mind. I'm just taking a guess. So I'm going to go B+. I think that's, still a very fantastic grade. I mean, you look at years past, you're sitting around trying to come up with reasons to give Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts A's. And this year it's like, okay, this is a move. This is you've in every position you have upgraded something. And I think that is something that the Steelers haven't done in a while. So I'm going to go B+, and I think there's potential to be an A.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you, especially about receiver. Like guys are flying off the board, and there aren't that many big names or quality names that give you an upgrade. Kind of left on the board. I worry about I think that room needs some veteran, like a veteran presence. Like you said, George Pickens and Calvin Austin being your locker room leaders or your position group leaders, not probably ideal. But I also, as far as center and offensive tackle, things like that, cornerback too. Like I think the draft is going to be loaded for stuff like that. And I think that's where they're looking. I think that's why I didn't grade them as low. I think they're kind of picking and choosing their spots to a certain extent. And these are spots where they think we can find a starter quality guy in the NFL draft. So we are not, as, I don't know, maybe not. I don't think not as concerned is the right word, but I don't think there is press to make moves in free agency when they know that you're not going to lock yourself into a veteran free agent that maybe is below the level of what you were aiming for. If there's potential to land a guy in the NFL draft who could be a starter for a long time.
I agree with that. I think that's a good point, that the Steelers, if they're looking draft, that changes things drastically. And I think that offseason grades when we're at the end of this could change a ton. And I have a lot of faith in Omar Khan. Like Omar Khan has given zero reason not to have any faith in this guy. So if you think, and if you're a fan and you think the Steelers are going to get this done, there's no worries there, then I would keep that faith. And I would not steer away from it, because there's no reason not to steer away from it. It feels like a new day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, a win. Overall, big wins for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've done a lot of good, and I think that there is a lot of optimism when it comes to where this team is headed.